So this is a call out of a kind of reticule that's inside of the augmented reality display that the AD is wearing. And it's something you learn to use by basically eye blink to get at different affordances. So now the AD is looking at the administration aspects of his job. You can see what resources are available to him. This is all by gesture and eye blink. This is the coolest part, this time horizon thing. Check this out. So the red stuff is coming up really fast. Things are happening at different rates of speed. I actually think this is a really neat idea. I would like to see it develop further. Now he's looking at a plan view of the chute where pieces of equipment and actors are and where they need to be. So that's strange design. We're building holes in space right now at Sun. It's really fun. That have some of these strange aspects to them. Another student, Matthew McBride, did a project called Telepath. It's worth calling out his strategy. It's probably hard for you to read this on the screen, but he says, a digital scaffold on which emerging communities and individuals can build visions and histories of themselves and their city. So this has a sort of historic debt to the Community Memory Project in Berkeley, but it's similar to on the map. It's using locative technology and tagging, and he's created a new kind of urban wayfinding device. He calls what he's done a human environment interface, and here's what the device looks like. So it's a liquid crystal display, transparent liquid crystal display. It has a compass, accelerometer, gravitometer in it, and some flywheels to make menu selections. Here's a call out of what the interface affordances look like. Basically, this is the way of looking through this thing at your city and seeing either information about categories that you think are important, or recommendations from friends of yours, or comments or tags that have been left by anybody. You can also look at pictures that people have taken of a particular place. And the wayfinding affordance at the bottom, the green areas are how many things in that direction are matches in terms of your personal network, and the white things are just in terms of what the things actually are. So that's an example of how the device would work. You know, when you turn it horizontal, you get a map view. Isn't that smart? Here's a close-up of the map view. He's put a lot of different kinds of filter affordances in it. You can also set this map on the table and scoot it around and see your geographical location. Here's a vision now for something completely different. Annalie Kimji is a Shiite Muslim fellow who came to us from Tanzania. He wanted to investigate the urban culture of Islam. But he wanted to investigate it from a particular philosophical perspective. In his view, and in his thesis, he did a lot of work on the history of Islamic cities. He poses that there are two kinds of spectacle that go on in these cities. There's a spectacle of prayer, religious art, the mosque, and there's a spectacle of trade. And his theory, and one which is shared by many Islamic historians, is that when these things get out of balance is when Islam and Islamic cities have trouble. So right now, in terms of the situation, for example, with Islamic extremism, he would say that the balance has gone too far towards the spectacle of prayer, where too much emphasis is being placed on the religious aspects of life and not enough on the aspects of commerce and trade and outward-reaching things. It's a very deep theory, and he took a lot of it from religion and philosophy, but also from Islamic art. And what he did was to say, okay, well, how do these things translate today? So the distinction that he started to look at was the news of the world. He was noticing that people in the cities where he has lived watch the BBC like it's the truth, which I guess it's just about the closest we can get without being there. And the call to prayer is the kind of counterbalance to that. And he created representations for stories in the news based on patterns that are fundamental to Islamic art, but generated now by computer with samples from different kinds of textures. The colors of these moving patterns represent the topic area of the news. The size represents how much coverage the news item is getting. And then you see an echo effect if a story has persisted over time in the visual representation. When the call to prayer comes, all of these displays collapse into a single pattern that is moving counterclockwise around a square that represents Mecca. So he decided to create this exteriorized notion of his spiritual values in a city, which I'll show you in a minute, on every level, from the domestic to the commercial. There's actually a scene in what you're about to see where you can see that his installation is in a Starbucks in a mosque. This thing exists in Dubai, and it's pan-urban. This is a longish movie. It's another 2-minute movie, but I think it's worth showing because it's fabulous work, and you'll be excited by it, I hope. So here we go. Sonifia, Dubai. Dubai is the fastest growing city in the world. The construction statistics are incredible. This man is living in an underwater apartment in one of the artificial islands in Dubai. His neighbors with Elton John and Michael Jackson. He's looking at the news with gestural interface on his smart paper wall. Call to prayer. Projections on the buildings of the city. Starbucks. Isn't it cool? He got hired by landlord to go do it. The guy was airlifted to Dubai like the day after he graduated by landlord, and they said, "You got 5 years, let's do this thing." Isn't that cool? And Dubai's kind of messed up, but it's cool anyway. Here's a piece that one of my students did on the topic of play. We got 2 to go. Here's one. Jennifer Darmore is a tinkerer. She likes to make stuff. The first example here is a very large-scale guitar that lives outside of a music store. That's a gesture interactive guitar being played by a guy. And now here's an interesting thing. She made running shoes that you could use in a networked way to run with partners in other parts of the country. So if my jogging partner's in New York and I'm in LA, we start running, and if my shoes turn green, I'm ahead, and if they're yellow, we're even, and if they're red, well, I'm falling behind. She's got some great video, but she had this little other student who's a very small woman running this demo, and it was like watching torture, because the student just got run all day. It was pretty funny. Anyway, this is Jennifer's terminology, experiential prototyping. We've actually started using this at Sun as a substitute for external specifications. where if you can build a deep interactive flash version of something and hand it to an engineer for hard coding, it's going to work better typically than a written spec. That's beside the point, but that's the process, the design process that Jennifer was using. Her final project she made with these little guys are sunspots. You might know the Berkeley motes. They're like the next generation of Berkeley motes. They're on 14 computers that can have all kinds of sensors and effectors attached to them and can also form very large-scale mesh networks. She invented this idea of a blank device. Rather than making a specific device for every application she wanted to play around with, she made this sort of blank device that not caring about what the shape of the final thing was going to be, but let's just see how it behaves. And here's what it actually looked like with a sunspot and some LEDs inside. She designed a system that allowed you to create your own music by dancing. Cool. Here's a little kiosk. The people looking at the kiosk have chosen to look at one of the persona characters that she's represented and to see how he uses the system. These people are hanging out on the porch. So it's like the old theremin idea. But this guy's going to get on it in a minute. So that was really well received at Sun. Jennifer demoed it herself live and got some of the engineers up dancing with the thing, which is insanely funny. I'm going to close with this year's Super Studio project. Again, the Super Studios are first-year students, and I kind of manipulate it a little because I get to kind of set the terms. I always give the students a demographic, and then I give them 3 bounding terms. The trick here as a methodology is that the bounding terms create a space of investigation that has some tension going on inside of it. So if they were all really happily consistent terms, it wouldn't be a very interesting space to explore. So we have media, messages, social intelligence, and manliness. And I'm asking the students to look at that intersection in the lives of 6-year-old boys and figure out if there's a way to make an intervention. The terminology we use in our studio, I'm hearing it more in the world too, is this idea of cultural intervention as being something that designers do. But I think it's something that people do, that people want to do. They want to make interventions. They want to change the direction of things. I always tell my students, somebody makes culture, it might as well be us, you know? And in any discipline, I think that's true. Your students are going to be the wellspring of the future. So this kind of investigation is worth learning how to do. And I did so much work with girls, I thought, these boys, they're not having such a happy time. Let's figure out what's going on here. So the students did a lot of work. They did some pre-work obviously with secondary research, looking at toys and media that the boys were already playing around with in this age group, and they did a bunch of expert interviews with people who studied the age group. They did photo audits. They sent the kids cameras. They asked the kids to draw pictures of their playgrounds. The kids and their parents kept media journals for a week, where we learned that how much TV parents say their kids watch is not anywhere near as much TV as their kids watch. This is an interesting one. We did magic bags as a kind of homework. So each night the child was given this set of cards, 3 identical sets of cards, which you can see on the top illustration, and asked to pack a bag for mom, a bag for dad, and a bag for the kid. And then what you see below is one of the ways that's sorted. So when you took all those contents out, you could see, so along the top of this display, you're seeing what the adults have in common, but not the kid. And then there's mom only and dad only. In the middle, we have shared affordances. At the bottom, we have kid only affordances. So we began to see patterns here, where some significant number of these children were only, really sequestered from the adults. They had their own thing down here, and there wasn't very much of it. A lot of them were really dad identified. We learned some other stuff, like, for example, mom always had the money and the credit cards. My mom was the go-to person for bucks, which, kind of surprised me. And it shouldn't, though, with 3 teenage girls. It's been going on for a long time, so at least I know it's normal. This this is their research video. I just thought you should see it because it's so loving and it's so much fun. There's such value in getting them out there to meet the people. We interviewed the parents too. You were taking plans. I took you back your pardon. I took a photograph of you. And we put together our own human-centered research facility. It broke the heart of men and flowers and girls and trees. Another rainy day, we're trapped inside the train set. Chocolate on the bottom, steamy windows when we met. You got the attic window looking out on the cathedral. And on a Sunday evening, bells ring out in the dusk. So they had some fun, and so did I. It was just great. I mean, these students don't normally engage these little guys, and they're so delicious. They're so wonderful. I had no idea. So one of the things I always ask the students to do is to take a moment and figure out how you're going to represent what you found out, because the way you represent your findings has a lot to do with what you learned from them and what you're able to do with them. So for example, here's a mobile, one of 3, that described how the kids visualize their playgrounds. We learned that some thought of them in terms of activity, some in terms of structure, some in terms of people. And that sort tended to correlate with some other traits that we found in the data so that we could begin to construct personas. And we ended up with 4 of them. This year, we always represent the personas in different ways, and this year the students decided to represent them as curiosity cabinets. So our 4 little canonical little boy personas that came out of our data got represented by these little models of their bedrooms, where the back wall was hopes and aspirations, the ceiling was dreams, under the bed were little secrets, there was the media wall, and there was a narrative wall. So you got a real full picture, and then on the outside of the boxes, there were little scenarios of those kids working through the day. And then we used this room, which had a bunch of curated toys and stuff, a swipe wall, the curiosity cabinets, and other affordances, brought a bunch of people in and did brainstorming with the objects. This exhibit is actually now being used by the design-based learning folks for K-12 at Art Center at night. It turned out to be a really rich way to do brainstorming, and we're going to keep working on it. But here's what happened. We learned that kids, the little boys, are getting messages from media almost exclusively that they want to be a hero of some kind, whether it's a fireman or a Spider-Man or a race car driver. The hero message is coming through strong. One of the things we did was ask them, who are you, who's your enemy, and who's your friend? And we gave them a bunch of characters to pick from. Everybody wanted SpongeBob to be their friend, but nobody wanted to be SpongeBob. So the winners were, Spider-Man and NASCAR drivers. NASCAR drivers, who knew, But at the same time, the parents are saying, I don't want my kid to be a hero. I want my kid to have a stable life. I want him to keep his head down. Wow, man, I grew up in the 50s with people saying, you can be president, you can go to the moon, And these guys are telling their kids, keep your head down, be an accountant. And the media is telling them, be a hero. Whack, spank, What a messed up situation for these little guys. So there's a pain spot there that we could address. We learned some things about outdoors. Outdoors is unbranded, indoors is branded. Didn't know that at this age. We also learned that these guys just jones to go outside and play. They want to go outside so bad, and they have so few opportunities to do it. They also want to go outside with dad, which is a problem we can't really solve with media. But they want to go outside much more than they're getting to. They don't want to actually had kids saying, I hate it when my mom makes me stay in and use the PlayStation. Go figure, right? So that you find out stuff when you talk to people. The students brought some values then into the mix as they thought about design. We want these little guys to have self-esteem. Whatever it is that we make for them should be enhancing of their self-esteem. We wanted to encourage social interaction and collaboration. We want whatever the content of this thing is to have value for their futures. And we wanted to heal this little wound between being safe and keeping your head down and being a hero. So how do we do that? The concept was for reactive toys where kids could attach sensors that would create different effects on the toy. The toy is a ball-shaped thing like this. You'll see it in a minute. The sensors are all powered by renewable energy. So this is the trick pony, right? This is where the kid gets to learn about solar panels, about wind energy, about kinetic energy, about water moving things, hydro energy. The batteries, there's one set of little rechargeable AA batteries in this thing and a rechargeable battery case, and that's it. If you leave it outside in the sun all day, it's going to really act up at night. It's going to dream, show you stuff. Further, if you connect them with other kids' bluxes, unexpected things happen. So we knew we had to wrap a narrative around this because these guys are really narrative heads. We built a story and a quest that would help them be heroes with these objects that we hope they'll take on and say, oh yeah, man, I want to design, hydroelectric stuff, or else I want to figure out, how to improve the efficiency of a solar battery. I can be a hero that way. That's the way between. That's Captain Kirk's third alternative. And we knew from our study of them what kind of play patterns they like. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the setup for the narrative, which we would have shopped as the pilot for a television series, and then I'm going to show you a commercial.
The year is 2015. The sun has been a source of light and inspiration for those on Earth since the beginning of time. However, it is only a recent discovery that life on the sun does exist. These solar beings, known as Solarians, inhabit a region called Sunspot Valley. In order to sustain living in such high temperatures, they have learned to create technologies to sense, adapt, and replenish their environment. Unfortunately, under the control of the evil energy czar Dubius, Earth continues a downward spiral. Precious energy sources have been depleted, and global warming remains unchecked. Politicians and oil barons seize what is left of excess resources, while the rest of Earth's population pays the price. Who will be able to save the Earth?
Bomber. Okay, so here's the commercial real quick. That's a blux coming from the Solarians. It's gone all the way through the planet. Now it's cooling down. Love the logo. You gotta love the logo. So we had a blast with these little guys, and we watched them play with the prototypes. You can see here that they're getting different reactions from different energy sources, and now they're chasing each other around. And they decided to figure out how to hook them together, and then they sent the messages back to the Solarians, which is the job that they're supposed to have. So these guys are changing the world through renewable energy. What a cool idea for 6-year-old boys. Yay! Yay! So that's it. That's all the goodies I had time to pack in here. And I want to thank you for being so attentive and appreciative of the students' work, and encourage you to think about talking to your students and creating affordances in your institutions where it's not about learning media, it's not about learning about computers, it's not even about learning how to use tools. It's about learning what you need to know to follow your dream, to change the world. Thanks. Doing a Q&A?
When Brenda and I were talking, oh gosh, I guess it's been 6 or 8 months ago, about her coming out here, I asked her, as we were going back and forth about the topic, and she said, well, what should I talk about? And I said, well, I don't really know. What would be really cool is if you could just you know, send them out of the room really thinking about things that are important. How do you think she did, huh? So, on behalf of all of us here,
Is that chocolate? Oh my God.
no, it's not.
Oh.
But if you wish that it was, we can hook you up. Rachel over there is a fellow, a kindred spirit on that point. Wow, what a fantastic morning here! What a great kickoff to the conference. You know, I want to be in your class.
Okay.
I'm gonna move to LA tomorrow.
Can I just tell you, this year we're doing climate change.
Oh.
Our customer this year, the students don't know it yet, is Earth. And the bounding terms are climate change, individual action, and delight.
Oh my, well that's wonderful. On behalf of all of us here, we want to give you this little gift and thank you for it, and so thank you very, very much. Thank you. So here in a few moments, we're going to be moving to the front of the hotel and to the buses. But before we do that, I want to take care of a few things. First off, I want to thank Apple Computer for the wonderful reception last night. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Tonight, as Wendy and Lev alluded to, we look forward to going over to the Rock Hall, and Adobe has some plans for us over there, and I think you're going to have an equally enjoyable, really good time tonight. And one of the things that's going to happen there, well, hopefully it's going to be really enjoyable. On the 4th floor, about 8:30, some of your NMC colleagues are going to be putting on an NMC show in the Rock Hall, and then we also have a professional band as well that'll be playing there. Each of you has a backstage pass to the entire event, and we have the whole hall just to ourselves, which is going to be, I think, a whole lot of fun. And so Nancy will be telling you a little bit about that as we get up here. And that's probably a good time for me to recognize some of the hardworking folks that have been here since Sunday, literally working virtually 24 hours to put that together. So Nancy, why don't you stand up? I mean, you're going to get to come up here in a second, but Nancy Reeves, this couldn't happen without her. She is definitely the glue and the inspiration to all of this. And next to Nancy is Alan Levine, the newest staff member of the NMC. Rachel Smith. Adam Tanguma, where are you, Adam? Okay, so Adam and Andrea are moving registration, I guess, over to Peter B. Lewis, and so you can see them over there, but they're working. That's we have virtually the entire NMC board here this year, so we're kind of excited about that. So let me recognize all of them, and I'm going to mention the names. I'm going to ask you all to stand up at once. So Barbara Dewey is here. Our chair you met earlier, Lev Gonick. Richard Katz, Susan Metros, Peggy Snyder, John Weber, Christina Woolsey. 2 new members this year just joined the board, Joan Getman and Don Henderson. And then we also have Larry Miller, an emeritus board member. Will you all stand and be recognized? The NMC board members all have a blue tag at the bottom of their name badge, and so I encourage you to visit with them. They're all very interested in your ideas about where the NMC should go and the kinds of things that we ought to be thinking about and doing. And we're going to be having a meeting on Saturday to talk about exactly that. So, if you catch them in a session or a hallway or at a reception, please do make time to do that. We have a lot of new members with us this year, and so I'd like to ask the folks that are here for the first time to stand, if you would. Anybody that's here for the first time, welcome. Now, I noticed a bunch of you that stood up didn't have that little red thing. If you wear that, you good. If you have that on there, you'll be glad tonight at the Rock Hall, because good things will come your way. So look in your registration packet and stick that on there. You want to get one. All right. All right, so Nancy has some housekeeping things for you. So with no further ado, we'll get Nancy up here, and then we'll relocate over to the Peter B. Lewis, where I want to let you know that the Case folks have set up amazing wireless access for us. All you have to do is open your laptop, open a browser. Under any tree, anywhere you are, you're going to have the most amazing bandwidth access that you could possibly want. So we're going to be over there most of the time we're at the conference. That's where you're going to have your great bandwidth. So take your laptops with you when you go over there. Nancy?
Thank you. Good morning. I just want to point out a couple things today to help you get around the conference for the next few days. We are moving, as you've noticed in the program, each day between this area and the Peter B. Lewis. And so for your convenience, like we just said, Adam and Andrea, they're going to be moving the registration desk each day to where the majority of the people are. So just know that there's always help at the registration desk at each area. Another thing that we have contracted with the shuttle buses, we did a lot of changes yesterday. So if you don't have the pink bus schedule, please be sure to stop by the registration desk and get one, because there were quite a bit of changes. And there will be shuttles coming between the Intercontinental Hotel, this hotel, the Suites, the Village, and the Peter B. Lewis building. But it's one shuttle that's going around a circle. So just be a little bit patient, but they'll be there. And I think as the time goes by each day, by the end of the day, they kind of get off track because of things that have happened during the day that are beyond their control. There will be a phone number at the bus signs for you to call if you do have an inquiry about that. Let's see, this afternoon we're going to have our special poster sessions, and this year we're adding a new feature to that, and the posters are going to be judged. So that event's going to take place from 3:30 to 5:30 in the lower level of the Peter B. Lewis building, so please be sure to join us then. And then tomorrow we're also having a very new special event with our corporate partners. We're going to have a corporate partner showcase tomorrow from 4 to 6. It's going to be in the ballroom here at the hotel, and it's going to be a really fun event with a lot of prizes, good food, cash bar, and all that. So please be sure to join us for that at that time. Today, when you get to the Peter B. Lewis building, there's a tent. As you walk out the building, it's on the right-hand side, and it's just about a block down the road, but there's a tent, and that's where lunch is going to be served. It's called Freiburger Field, and it's just a block away. Continental Breakfast will be there tomorrow. Hands-on tickets. This year, our hands-on tickets, we were out of them within 12 hours of sending out the email. And so if anybody is not going to go to one of their sessions that has the ticket, please return it to the registration desk, and that way others could benefit from using that ticket. And if you don't have a ticket and would like one, check periodically at the registration desk. Tours, there's several tours scheduled throughout the conference. And again, the tours are limited just because of the capacity of the labs that you're going to go see. And so stop by the registration desk again to get your tours for the tickets. And a guide will meet you in front of the Peter B. Lewis building to walk everybody over to each tour. Let's see, 5 minutes of fame. Don't forget tomorrow, for any of you participating in that you have a rehearsal that you really need to go to at 11:30 to 1:30. It's going to be here in this auditorium. They're going to have lunch out in the foyer. You can't bring food and drink in here, but you'll have lunch out there and rehearsal in here. And Alan and Rachel will be here working with you guys on that. And this is the big one, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Does everybody have a ticket that wants to go? Is there anybody that does not have a ticket that wants to go? 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. That makes me feel better. We have very, very, very few tickets left. And so if I counted 3 hands. If you'll go to the registration desk and ask for your ticket right away when you get over to Peter B. Lewis. Because we gave catering counts yesterday. It was my last day. And we've given out quite a few more tickets today. So be sure and do that immediately. And then after that, there's going to be no more tickets. And tonight, there's going to be buses at all 3 of the venues. And when you get on the bus, you're going to have your ticket. And that's just due to all the catering and the setup and the table rentals and all those type of things. So that's good. That solves that problem. And that's it. The buses are going to be here in front of the Continental Hotel right now. We're running a little bit late. And so if you can get out to the front as quickly as you can, that'd be great. Have a great day.